Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome to this throwback edition of the Awakening Women podcast. In this one, I'm bringing back a very popular episode. I'm bringing back some that go as far back as 2020 and drawing the ones that had the most downloads, like multiple thousands of downloads. And this was one of them, and it was something that I kept seeing over and over again in my cohorts with women that when I was working with them in the cycle back when my program was for women breaking the cycle within the relationship. And what I'm going to play that episode, but what I wanted to add here is more through the lens of what it is that I am teaching now, which is helping women break the emotional addictive pattern that's going on underneath these cycles. This is what gets missed, is that whatever a man is doing or not doing, it's really not about him. It's the pattern that women have to break within. And so what I would hear from many women is how excruciating and painful that silent treatment would be. I remember, I think what spurred this episode back then was a woman saying that her spouse would go like weeks without saying a word to her. Nothing. She could not get him to answer her. He just acted like she was not there and that it was a very, very painful, torturous situation to live in. And that is abuse. There's no excuse. A silent treatment, in my mind, there is no reason for it in any way, shape, or form in a relationship. Not at all. You're with an emotional child, or if that's what you're experiencing. And so there should be no tolerance for that. It's not a normal part of a healthy relationship. Healthy people don't do that. You have been programmed to be used to this cycle. So the cycle is there's silence. That causes pain. It causes unease and anxiety. Then it causes a lot of self-doubt. Like, what did I do to deserve this? What can I make sure I don't do again to prevent this from happening again? And then eventually there's reconnection, which is the relief. And then that is the dopamine hit. So this cycle trains your brain to fear disconnection. So you do whatever you can to maintain connection, even with an unhealthy person. You overvalue the reconciliation phase of the cycle. And then that love bombing that goes on and the hoovering and all the wonderfully changed behavior that can go on after a period of this. And it makes you tolerate disrespect to avoid that withdrawal because it's so painful. And so what you learn over time is that your emotional stability depends on him, his availability. And this is why I'm teaching women how to stand on their own and not need to lean in on a man or anyone external. That doesn't mean that we don't have support, but you get it from healthier sources. You don't rely on one human being that is causing all of the chaos and drama, and you're relying on him also to be the solution or your regulator or your emotional stability. Not a healthy place to be. So doing this work, it is very uncomfortable. Women definitely have difficulty with rewiring these patterns, but it is so essential. And so I just wanted to offer this before I play this throwback episode on how to handle it if you're actually dealing with this within a relationship. So what do you do with that? And then it is also learning how to self-regulate, self-soothe, do things to make yourself feel better within that. And it's also, you got to break that addictive loop. You must. And this is what we do inside of the Self-Source Collective. I'm teaching women how to self-source their emotional power from within, their safety, their grounding, their security from within. So they're no longer seeking it from unhealthy sources. Right now, we're not open for enrollment, but we will be opening a new intake in January. And if you want to make sure that you get on the wait list to be notified, you can click the link in the show notes to add yourself to that. All right, let's play that episode now. Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. I am your host, Leanne Oaten, holistic therapist and transformation coach for conscious women who want to reclaim their power and peace within a toxic dynamic in their relationship. So we do talk here about empowerment, self-growth, mindset, and how to really step into your power fully when you're in an emotionally abusive or narcissistic relationship. This podcast is for you if you're interested in using your relationship experience as a path to conscious growth, awakening, and personal development. This is what we talk about here. The conversation is about, rather than running from the problems, how do we grow through them as a way to awaken and improve our lives and really strengthen our level of consciousness as we're trying to figure out what we're going to do within the relationship. Many women, well, all the women basically, for the most part, that come to me to work with me, that end up in our Awakening Women support group, that go into ETC, are in a relationship where there's narcissistic traits and dynamics. Now, I've talked about the spectrum. I've talked about, if you scroll down and go into where I talk about narcissistic personality versus narcissistic traits and all of that, I've talked about all of this in the past, so I won't go too far into my take on, of course, there's varying levels, and I'm not here to tell you to stay in anything and grow if it's so toxic and volatile and dangerous. There's varying levels. So the women that do best working with me have that covert dynamic going on with their partner. Their partner's very covertly, narcissistically, emotionally abusive, and they're not in any physical danger. Now, I'm not here to say that emotional abuse is less dangerous or toxic. Not the conversation we're having here. But you might be in a situation where you don't want to leave just yet. You're not too sure if there's hope or if there's something maybe you're missing. You maybe have a family, kids, a business, a home, entangled lives. And maybe you recognize that this is going on and you aren't ready to leave. You're not in a place to do that, or you don't want to. Who am I to tell you that you just need to leave? And so I'm not here to tell you to stay, though, either. I'm actually not here to give you any direct advice about what you should be doing. And that is what I do that is different, because I believe as a coach, my job is to help you to look for the answers within yourself. And that is what we do inside of ETC. It's what I do with my private clients, is help them discover their own answers. Because you don't need someone else telling you what to do. You don't need someone giving you direct advice. And that's why my work, I believe, is so powerful, because I get you to look within for your own answers. All right, so that's a little bit about me. If you're here and you're new, you haven't listened to any of the previous podcasts, go back to the episode where you see where it says name change and how to know if your relationship can be changed. That's when my podcast message and everything pivoted. Prior to that, I was specializing in issues like depression, anxiety, eating disorders, orthorexia, health food obsession, emotional eating, and adrenal fatigue, all those kind of things that are just really emotionally based. So if you're struggling with any of those issues, be sure to go through all of the episodes, because I really have taken care to put some really valuable content out there around holistic mind-body healing and dealing with the root cause. So that's what we're talking about in this podcast. The conversation has changed, where we're talking about what are the root causes of your relationship pain and the ongoing crazy making and the ongoing stress and anguish. Because you might be thinking, or maybe up until now, you've been thinking, well, it's just what other couples go through, or maybe it's my fault, or this is just normal to have all of this conflict and angst and pain and suffering. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. And if you have been experiencing ongoing issues that do not let up and they just seem to get worse, they're impacting your health, your mental health, your state, your ability to cope and thrive in your life, where you feel like your relationship issues are just consuming all aspects of your being. You are spending a lot of time focused on the relationship and trying to get him to be a certain way. These are all signs of a very toxic relationship, and they're also signs of possibly, not diagnosing anyone here, I don't know or know the situation, but possibly narcissistic abuse. So I have this radar that senses it when I hear someone talking about their feelings in their relationship. And I really like to help women become empowered rather than see themselves as a victim. And that's why on Friday, which is, where are we? The 17th of January. So that's in a couple days from the point you're listening here. I'm doing a webinar inside of the Awakening Women Facebook group. It's a private community. And I'm doing a webinar, 5 steps to break free from victim mentality and into empowerment. So I'm actually talking to you about how do you shift out of victimhood, because a lot of the stuff that's out there feeds victim mentality. And I'm not here to do that. So if that sounds good to you and you want to join, then there will be a link here in the show notes where you can join the list and the group, because that's where it's happening. All right, so today I want to just quickly answer a question that came up in the Awakening Women support group, but it also is something that my clients have struggled with, and it's a common issue that is among toxic relationships, especially narcissistic relationships, and that is the silent treatment. I've heard varying responses to this where it elicits a trauma response within when their partner goes into this. I have heard where it can go on for days until they have sex, or they're the one that tries to repair the relationship. I have heard that they never know when it's going to change or when he's going to start talking again. And again, you can see how this can really perpetuate a victim mentality. It's like, well, he's not talking to me. He's traumatizing me. I'm feeling all these emotions like an abandoned child. And it's important to look at, well, where are the roots of that? Where in your life have you felt similar feelings with possibly one of your parents, where they've emotionally abandoned you? Or maybe that's how one of your parents or both your parents dealt with conflict, was to give each other the silent treatment or give you the silent treatment. So it is important, obviously, to look deeper for those roots. But if you're going, well, he's not talking to me, he goes into silent treatment and I have to walk on eggshells, well, you are in victim mentality. So I'm going to give you a little nugget of what you can start doing when he is choosing to act like this. This is a massive sign of emotional immaturity, first of all. And we all can go into that, obviously, but there's extremes to this. Okay, so understanding that this is actually a form of stonewalling. There's a difference between going quiet and going within and really just choosing to disengage from something that is toxic, but then you use the wording and you say, I just need some space right now. I really am not in a space to talk, but listen, how about if we try tonight at 8:30 when the kids are asleep? Let's talk this through. But right now, I actually am not in a place to talk and I don't want to talk. How would that be for you? That is a mature emotional response in a mature relationship. But because the person that is stonewalling does not have those skills or inner wherewithal or ability, they shut down, they choose to stop communicating. So there's various tactics that are used by someone who stonewalls. And let me tell you, it is one of the most toxic things that can happen in a relationship. If you look up the Gottman Institute and they talk about the 5 horsemen, just Google it. I think it's 5 horsemen. Gottman, Gottman, he talks about these specific behaviors that are doomed to kill a relationship. And one of them is actually stonewalling. And it's very traumatic and traumatizing for the other person. But it's only traumatizing to you depending on how you are actually filtering that experience through. If you're choosing to see it as he's doing this to you because that you're not important, or that you're not valuable, or you're not worthy of someone actually talking to you, right? Or you're choosing to go into that, or it's triggering an old childhood wound, right? There's many aspects and directions we can go into this. So wherever those emotions are, so number one, you need to go within yourself when this is happening. So if he's choosing to give you the silent treatment, you can choose to suffer, or you can choose to grow. You get to choose which one you're going to do. So the first thing is to take space, grab your journal, and write out what this is doing for you. His ignoring me brings up this. His ignoring me brings these emotions up because, and just free flow write. What I'm telling myself about him ignoring me and giving me the silent treatment is. Those are 3 very powerful journal prompts you can implement right now to experience a shift, but you actually have to get the pen out, create some space, and write it out. So that's the first thing is, are you going to choose to suffer when he is doing the silent treatment, or are you going to choose to grow and take that time for yourself? The other thing is taking time for yourself. What self-care are you not doing because you are so enmeshed in what he's doing and not doing, and so codependent that you can't even figure out what you need to do to feel better? You feel like you need him to talk to you and comfort you to feel better within yourself. And that is why the dynamic of being in this relationship is working. Because you right now believe you need him to be a certain way for you to feel better, but you don't. And that's why inside ETC, I teach you how to become self-sufficient in that way. Not to say that you shouldn't have a relationship where those things are present, of course. But the fact is right now you don't. And you want to learn how to respond to this in a more empowered way so you don't have to suffer. You can choose to suffer, sure. That's a choice. Or you can choose, I'm going to evolve. I'm going to use this as a way to strengthen myself and develop myself to become stronger, so I don't need him to be any certain way for me to feel okay within myself. So that is one tactic, a couple of journal prompts you can use to go deeper into what comes up for you when he's giving you the silent treatment. That's a very covert way of emotionally abandoning you and basically saying, you matter so little to me that I'm just going to pretend you're not even here. It's a form of pouting. It's a form of, like I said, emotional abandonment. It's very emotionally immature. So you can choose what you're going to do within that. And I did have one lady in our group say something about, well, I don't know how to respond to this when the kids are in the room. What do I do? Again, what can you say? Hey kids, let's go out. We're going to go to the mall, or we're going to go to the bookstore, or we're going to go get a hot chocolate, or let's go plug in a movie, make popcorn, and have a movie night together. You can pull your kids out of that toxicity and let him sit there pouting in the corner all by himself. Let him kick in the sandbox like a child. Because if you start to see it like that, you're detaching from that it means anything about you, because it doesn't mean anything about you. A mature person goes, I'm just in a headspace right now where I can't talk about this anymore. I need some space, but let's try again in 30 minutes or something, right? There's lots of different tactics that can be used, but going stonewall and choosing to give you the silent treatment is the highest form of disrespect, but it's actually not about you. It's completely about him. He doesn't know how to be any different. All right, so hopefully that shone a light on what is going on with the silent treatment. And also, here's something that I teach my women in the collective is you have to really learn to be completely turned off, repulsed, and disgusted by such immature, childish behavior. Instead of seeing it as a reason to try harder, to make him see something different, or to get him to come around, get disgusted, get repulsed by that. And then use that energy to make sure you are doing your own work on your side of the dynamic. Because we have to be able to own our own part in keeping it alive and keeping it going. So you have to be willing to look at, why is it that I am willing to tolerate a man who treats me with such disdain and disregard? A man that does not clearly cherish me, value me, or see me as the magical woman that I actually am. He does not see what it is that he has because he's taking it for granted. He's showing me through his actions how much he does not value me. And then we have to turn that around on ourselves and go, why is that okay with me? Why am I actually putting up with that for one more day? So that wraps up this episode. I hope that this has been a moment of awakening. And again, if you're ready to break these cycles and start valuing yourself in a whole new way, make sure you get into the next intake of the Self-Sourced Collective.